Hey guys, welcome back to Story Time. We are reading Sink or Swim, and this is chapter 4. So if you haven't been with us for chapters 1, 2, and 3, feel free to go ahead and jump backwards and read those or listen to those and catch up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And be sure to say hey, what's up in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. Hope that everything's going well for you, and just know that I love you and I miss you so much. Let's just jump right in and get started here. Sink or Swim, Chapter 4. I was real worried that they'd have doctors at the recruitment center in Riley doing physical exams, and they'd know I wasn't as old as I pretended to be. And I was real worried that they'd have a dentist there too, and they'd see that I still had a couple of baby teeth, and so couldn't really be 17. And I was real worried that even with dirt streaked on my face, Dad's old wool cap pulled low on my forehead, Danny's baggy clothes, my boots on to make me taller, and the way I'd been practicing making my voice lower like a grown man's, that they'd see through my disguise and toss me out. But none of that happened. There were so many of us crammed into the recruitment office to report for boot camp that they just read off a list of our names and everybody said here or present or yeah, and that was it. So they don't have a doctor do an exam or anything. I asked the guy next to me, who didn't seem a whole lot older than I was. Guess not, he said. Got my exam before when I first come in to enlist. They didn't do that for you? Oh yeah, I said, covering. I just didn't know if we'd get another one here. Oh, all right. A Navy officer stormed into the room just then and barked at us. We're still waiting on a couple of stragglers. The rest of you hit the head out back, and then line up outside and get on the bus, and keep your yaps shut while you're doing it. I'd been on enough boats in my life to know that the head was the bathroom, so I got in line to take care of business, and then spent the next 3 hours just sitting on the bus outside the recruitment office, not going anywhere, and nobody telling us why. When I finally said something about it to the guy sitting next to me, the same guy as before, he replied, I heard it was going to be like this. Hurry up and wait. I guess it's our official welcome to the Navy. I nodded like I knew what he was talking about. Name's Woody Hudson, by the way, he said. Colt, I started to say before I caught myself. I mean Danny. Woody gave me a funny look, and I was nervous. I'd already blown it, and we hadn't even left Raleigh yet. I go by Danny, I tried to clarify. All right, Danny, it is, Woody said with a laugh. Where are you from anyway, Danny? Outer Banks. What about you? He said he was from Kinston, which was a farming town east of Riley I'd heard of. Then he leaned in close. I ain't but 15, he said, and I ain't never been out of Kinston before neither. I thought they'd know when I come over last month to the recruitment office, but they just let me sign up. My ma, she said, signed the papers. She didn't care I wasn't 17 yet and didn't mind telling them I was neither. The way I see it, the Navy's going to put some money in my pocket, and I can do what I want from now on. I said that seemed like a funny way to think about it since you had to follow orders in the Navy, but he just laughed again. Ain't you never heard of Liberty? That's when you get a pass and they let you off the ship or off the base or wherever you're at, and you can go out and drink and watch movies and see if you can find a girl. All kinds of things you can do if you get money. Woody had sandy hair and was a couple of inches taller than me. I was 5'6" on tiptoes and had a thick mop of black hair like Danny and Dad. Woody was also a big talker. Once he finished up with all the wild stuff he was going to do when he had that money in his pocket, he was on Liberty, He started on everything anybody might ever want to know about growing and cropping and curing tobacco. Then, after that, he told me all about his high school and the teachers there and the sports team he'd been on and all the girls who did or didn't talk to him and who he would or wouldn't go out on a date with and who was or wasn't pretty enough for him. Woody kept on talking for a good half hour. The best I could figure out, Woody hadn't even actually been out with a girl, but he did have a lot of big plans. I didn't mind him going on and like that, though. I didn't want anybody asking me any questions, and listening to Woody helped me mind off all the things I was worrying about, like Danny and Mama and getting caught. Without us noticing, the stragglers must have shown up, because right about the time I was going to ask if I could get off and use the head again, the doors slammed shut and the bus jerked into gear, and off we went up the highway for the 20-hour drive to boot camp at Great Lakes, where they would turn us all into proper sailors before sending us off to war. Anybody on the bus who'd brought food shared it with the rest of us, which was a good thing for me because I hadn't eaten anything since leaving Oak Rock, except that sandwich and pickle and cup of coffee the preacher had bought me. Somebody had fried chicken, somebody else had a hard salami that he cut into slices with his knife and passed around. Somebody else even had a jar of moonshine that he offered around, but I passed on that. I hadn't ever had liquor before and didn't think Mama would like it if I drank some, even though there wouldn't be a way for her to find out. Woody took a big long drink of it like it was no big deal, but his eyes started watering and his face got all red and he couldn't speak for about 5 minutes because he was gasping for air. All the older guys got a good laugh out of that, and the more they drank, the more they were yelling and carrying on until the officer in charge of the bus turned on the lights and stomped up and down the aisle, ordering us to pipe down or we'd regret it once we got to Great Lakes. Once the jar was empty, they passed it around again for guys to pee in, then dump it out the window and pass it to the next fellow. Somebody must have spilled some, though, or maybe the wind blew some back on the windows, because it got to smelling like pee so bad on the bus that I got a headache. "You think this is bad," Woody said. "I heard that once you're on the ship down below deck where the crew sleeps, it stinks to high heaven from nobody ever taking a bath, and it's worse than getting seasick. More guys throw up on account of the smell than they do from their ship getting bounced around in a big storm." "I think I'll be all right there," I said, trying to sound more confident than I actually felt. "I've been out in some rough ocean before since I was a little kid, and never once got seasick." "Always a first time," Woody said. The first thing they did when we got to Great Lakes was divide up all the North Carolina boys and assign us to different companies, so we were mixed up with guys who'd come from other places all around the country, though Woody and I somehow ended up in the same company. Then they lined us up and gave us buzz cuts, so right away everybody starts looking the same, which I guess was the point. The barber took one look at me after he lifted Dad's cap off my head and laughed. "You come in with your papa?" I scowled at him with what I hoped was my meanest grown-up face, but that just made him laugh more. "Don't wet your pants, son," he said. "I just cut hair. I don't check IDs." A minute later he was done with me and I looked just like everyone else, only apparently a lot younger. After haircuts, they ordered us to strip out of the clothes we came in wearing, which we did, but then we had to stand there naked, the whole bunch of us, shivering from the Illinois cold. I found my way to a corner and covered myself up as best I could, with my hands turning away like I needed to study something on the wall behind me. Nobody seemed to notice. They were all mumbling to one another, shivering, complaining, until finally they started calling names off the recruit list. One by one, we made our way to the counter where they issued our whites and blues, the two different colored uniforms we'd be wearing every day, all the way down to boots and socks and underwear, which they called skivvies. They said we could box up our civilian clothes and mail them home, but I left mine on a bench since I didn't have anywhere to send them. I was just glad to finally be dressed again. Next, they issued us our sea bags, big canvas bags, one for each of us that we'd use to carry everything they gave us, hammock and mattress and two mattress covers that somebody called a fart sack. I later understood why. Also, one pillow and two pillow covers and a couple of blankets, a pea coat, underwear and uniforms, and not much else. The petty officer demonstrated how we were expected to lay all of our bedding items and clothes in a particular order before rolling them into the mattress so they wouldn't take up much room when they strapped it all to our sea bag. He kept calling us Boots the whole time. "All right, Boots," he yelled. "That's how it's done, and that's how you'll do it from now on. It's Navy regulation, and everything in your life from this minute forward will be done according to Navy regulations. When you eat, pee, poop, wipe yourself, tie your shoe, stand in line, even when you complain, you will do it according to Navy regulations. You understand me?" "Yes, sir," I said before I could stop myself, but I'd always been raised to say yes, sir, and no, sir, so it was just habit. No one else had spoken, though, and I realized it wasn't the sort of question that we were supposed to answer. The petty officer glared at me, but let it go. It was the last time anybody would let anything go for the next 6 weeks. Chapter 5. So it looks like he's made it in, and so far they definitely haven't kicked him out. The barber knows that he's not old enough, but he's having a pretty hard time. Just imagine, he's not much older than you guys. This boy is as old as your 7th grade brothers or cousins. He's just a 7th grader, and he's going in to join the United States Navy to fight in World War II, one of the biggest wars in our country. So I hope you're enjoying the story, and don't forget to subscribe, click the notifications bell so you don't miss a thing. Make sure and say, hey, what's up in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. I hope that you're all doing well and that you're safe and happy and healthy and whole. I'm praying for you all every day, and I love you so much. Have a great one. Goodbye.